Good evening. My name is Chris Dela Cruz, Associate Pastor with Westminster Presbyterian Church in Portland. I'd like to talk about some of what's possible when you spend some time focusing on land as a part of reckoning with racism through talking about our own congregation's participation in Path 1 of this cohort. As a Filipino American, I am the first person of color pastor at Westminster in its over 130 plus years of history. And I am very grateful that folks in our mostly white congregation made it a priority through reckoning with racism to dive into its land story as well as folks' own personal land stories. You know, the history of white supremacy is so tied to how human beings are ripped from their relationships with place and land in which they reside through erasure, enslavement, displacement, and all the rest. And sure, you could read that in book studies, movies, fact charts, etc. But what I've heard from multiple folks who participated in this was how the land story work took racism out of the head and made it personal and embodied. I just spoke with someone on our team that shared about how tracing her own family's journey from Michigan to Oregon and how their family arrived just years after the erasure of indigenous folks in their home, and how her own grandfather's house overlooked Vanport as displacement and redlining of black folks occurred in surrounding neighborhoods. She made those connections saying, I knew my grandfather. This isn't that far away in time. And through the land story work on Westminster's land, the team made the connection that was undeniable. And I'll quote from another member of the team who said, "We were taken aback as to how short of a time it was from when the native folks were displaced and when the church deed was signed." This land story work had ripple effects beyond the immediate scope of the team. In parallel to our team's journey on Path 1, our church has been working with the larger Presbyterian church body to work toward giving land from another nearby Presbyterian church back to an indigenous coalition, Future Generations Collaborative, to build a tiny home village for unhoused indigenous families with children. The work of the Reckoning team in learning and sharing that land story more widely with the congregation has broadened and deepened support for this project the church is trying to do called Barbie's Village. And members of the Reckoning team have also been galvanized through this land story work to support these community outreach efforts and build momentum for the project. I'll also share that we as Westminster took the land story findings and then commissioned a videographer to summarize it into a video we shared with our adult education. We then decided to spend a good amount of this year doing house meetings within the congregation using this video, an idea we got from other congregations with Reckoning with Racism. Which shows, by the way, the interconnectedness and the power that happens when y'all work together in doing this. These house meetings have helped gather more and more folks in our community into this reckoning, with the ripple effects of stirring up conversation and reflection, as well as nurturing a potential foundation for future systemic changes we want to make at Westminster in our systems and culture to move toward an anti-racist church. Now, I'll be honest, according to our own team, some people who have been at these house meetings were receptive, some were skeptical, which is actually all good data to unveil in the process, if you think about the larger work of anti-racist transformation of our congregation. And of course, what I am not saying is what Westminster is doing is a shining, perfect example, or even that this is a one and done deal. As new members have joined our larger racial justice working group, some have expressed watching the land story video that was made and saying, I'm actually not sure if this emphasized with enough justice the story of black folks in particular and displacement around our own neighborhood at Westminster, especially given we have some members here who have lived through it. And then when I spoke with some of the key leaders who worked on the land story. They said, we did work hard on this and tried the best we can, and we can do more work with this emphasis that we're being challenged to think about. So our working group leaders have committed to, at our next meeting, wrestling with this exact question. Right? So this is all ongoing. The seed planted in doing this land work is not perfection or arrival. It is the commitment to embodiment. It touches the heart. It roots us in creation, and it moves toward change. It is the beautiful, ugly, messy work of ongoing growth and renewal and stumbling and messing up and repair. Thank you.